Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Self Illumination here on our series of interviews that we are doing with amazing people such as Yulia Tarbath. Her husband Paul is not here, but Yulia and Paul are here to help people balance their health challenges naturally, as well as create a beautiful, slim, and energetic body. Together with her husband, they were certified holistic nutritionists and lifestyle coaches at Rawsomehealthy.com. Paul and Yulia have helped hundreds of clients and tens and thousands of followers reclaim their health. They use natural, proven methods to help their clients overcome hormone imbalances, lose weight, restore their fatigue, gut, and autoimmune disorders. They take a holistic approach to health and work on helping you balance your diet, lifestyle, stress, spiritual life, emotional state, and much, much more. They believe that they can accelerate your health restoration when you have a clear plan to follow, as well as accountability and support from those who specialize in understanding your struggles.
Thank you,
Yay!
Sarah.
Thank
That's
you.
that's a great intro. Thank you. And hello, everyone.
Yes. Thank you for my little flubs here and there. But thank you so much, Yulia, for being here with us. We're so excited to have you. I mean, I have been following your journey for a very, very long time. And I remember when I went raw myself and went on that journey of health, I definitely watched your guys' videos, and it brought in so much inspiration to just keep on going. So I'm so happy that you're here and that we get to interview you and understand a little bit more about you and your husband's journey and what started you on this healthy lifestyle that you guys have now.
Sure. Yes, happy to answer all these questions.
Yeah. So how did you guys start on, I guess you started on a raw diet? Like, what was happening in your life that made you need to change your health, essentially?
Yeah, sure. So I was going through a health crisis, and I was looking for different ways to balance my health issues. And I'm a naturally very driven person. I want to be well, and I don't need to be convincing to eat healthy. I don't need to be convinced to eat healthy, but it was just a case of finding the right plan. And I was ready and willing to invest in myself and be well, but I just couldn't find the right plan. And what was happening at the time, I had candida issues and gut health issues, lifelong gut health issues. And I also had a lot of fatigue, and my thyroid went out of balance, and Hashimoto's. And basically, it's just everything started to go out of balance. And I was trying different diets to help me restore, in different supplements and different remedies and so forth. So at the time, I was following an anti-candida diet, which kind of made sense by back then. So if you have candida, go on an anti-candida diet and it balances. But it totally crashed me. And what happened was that I was struggling to get out of bed, and I was in my mid-20s, and I just couldn't live this way. And I knew that there was more to life, and I wanted to be healthy, and I needed to find the right plan. And of course, I was really starving myself of carbohydrates and literally dreaming. Like I had dreams of me eating fruit. I'm a huge fruit lover, just naturally big fruit lover. And then I remember I just couldn't do it anymore. And I said to myself, you know what? I said, I'm quitting everything. I'm going to go to a shop, and I'm just going to let me choose what I want to eat, but let my body just guide me to the food that it wants to eat. And I just got so much fruit, and I brought it back home. It was summertime, and cherries and peaches and nectarines. And you're not eating all those things on an anti-candida diet, and berries. And I just brought bags and bags of fruit. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be eating it. I'm on an anti-candida diet. And then through different interesting experiences, I had my own spiritual club. We lived in London, England at the time. And I had my own spiritual club for people where we discuss different subjects. And one of the ladies there said, have you ever heard about the raw food diet? And I was like, wow, that sounds so interesting. And thankfully, I came across the right raw food diet right away. So it was the 8-10-10 diet that I came across. A high carbohydrate and low fat. And when I read it and understood it, gosh, this is just amazing. Living on fruits and vegetables, what can be better than that? It's just so delicious and it's so tasty. So Paul and I switched to it. Paul had some reservations because he actually followed along with me always, and we would do crazy detoxes, and we would just eat oh gosh, we did all kinds of things together. We did fasts and colonics, and we just followed different books and all kinds of things. But with this diet, it was like, I'm not sure about eating bananas and fruits. But he was sold. And once he studied it, he understood it, and we just went with it. And gosh, literally within days, I started to notice changes, big changes to my health, to my well-being. My candida symptoms were gone finally. I started to feel more energetic and happy in myself. And it was a quick transformation in terms of energy and mind clarity, and just like finally feeling satiated with what you eat. So yeah, it really started to happen fast.
Amazing, amazing. And how did you notice the emotional benefits almost immediately too, from when before you were on a fruit-based diet to then being like on a raw food diet, would you say?
Yes, definitely. So we made some mistakes to start with on the raw food diet. We were not eating enough, and we made mistakes, like most people do when they're
Yeah.
newbies, right? And
Yeah.
we had to correct those mistakes. So it's a little bit hard to tell, but at the same time, yes. And it's just that level of clarity that came into our lives, and we realized that, you know what, England is not the place where we want to live. So let's change our life. And we literally just packed everything and went and sold our house, and we went traveling. And we understood that we want to be in warm climates, and we need to build our life in a different way. We don't want to be sort of working for someone else. We want to have our own business. We want to have the flexibility and travel. Basically, like just a lifelong dream was, we were given like there's a go for it kind of signal
Yeah.
with that. And we did that. And so as well as going raw, we also then left England. And England is beautiful. We love it. But the gray weather is just way too long. And we like sunshine and fruit. So
Yeah.
pretty much for 15 years now, we've been nomads as well. So as well as following this lifestyle, we've lived in so many countries in the world. I've been to over 42 myself. So it's traveling is a big part of our life.
Yeah, and it seems like the fruit and the raw foods kind of took you on that journey, because it's just like,
Yes.
I gotta find the food that I can eat in like the climate that I can eat it in. So it really like that perpetuated a not just a eating change, but actually like a physical big change in your life, obviously, just to move and the overall the well-being, right? Would you say?
Yes. And in terms of emotional state, when you start to change your body chemistry, and obviously this diet will start changing your chemistry, it will start cleansing you, it will start rebuilding you, it will start really just doing most amazing things with your body. Of course, your emotional state will also change as a result of that. We are not just physical beings, we're physical, spiritual, mental, emotional beings.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got all those parts of us, and all those parts of you will go through changes. And I would say the challenge here is that, as well as sort of activating most beautiful emotional states that you'll experience, you'll also be faced with the dark side of you, with the dark side of this world, with the dark side of life as well. That's yin and yang. And you really need to, I would say you definitely need to keep on growing and understanding what practices and what spiritual practices can take you forwards in embracing it, clearing it, and understanding that it is part of this world versus denying it. And so it's a process. It's a process, but I would say you can go through it at an accelerated rate, because you become more sensitive to, you're not numbing yourself with foods that's unhealthy, and you become more sensitive to these emotions. But how you deal with them, that's something that you would need to master, because you will be presented with that challenge. Is the most amazing state that you can be in. And
Yes.
here is the trauma of your past, or here's the trauma of the past that it's still there, or here is like certain things that happened, or here is the dark side of this world that is there. So like, how are you going to balance it all? That's going to be up to you. And that's a journey in itself.
Yes, yes, I definitely know that very well. I mean, you're dealing with literally everything that is not of that frequency of the fruit. I mean, it comes out, you're detoxing, you're releasing parasites and bacterias and funguses. I mean, and that comes with that emotional state. And like, how was it doing it with your husband? Would you guys do it side by side and like have to go through things at the same time, or would it kind of be one would do something more and then the other person would go through it? Like how did that work in like that family dynamic with you guys?
Yes, that's a great question. And we are blessed that we are doing things together. And I have to say, it would be very hard for me to have it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yes, there's just the type of person I need that support. And we are doing it together. And maybe that's going to be an inspiration for men watching it, to support your ladies, because women usually move forward, and it's not to make us better. It's just the fact that we're more emotional and more connected. We bring children to this world. We are more intuitive. That's just natural thing. And I think guys can also release that if they release that resistance and allow that change, just understand that even if it's hard, it's for their benefits. They can really just become amazing masters.
Right.
On this, we can see really amazing men on a planet. And so we were doing it together and supporting each other, and with I think also the fact that we traveled and we always faced new realities and new challenges, that also brought us much closer together. But we also had a common vision. And when we understood that we want to build a health coaching business, we went through studying. We studied together, then we got certified together, and then we built a website and we started coaching clients. So we had a common vision. And I would say families, that's what I've noticed myself, families who have that common vision, they're much stronger than families who don't. And when kids come into that dynamic and you've already established certain values in your family or the way your family lives, it's just so amazing to be able to inspire the younger generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, we can go into right now because you're there. I would love to hear about your journey into pregnancy too, and like what lifestyle you were doing while you were pregnant, and then obviously the birth as well.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about pregnancies forever.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it's
know
like
you do. I
every
love it.
female can, right? Because it's just such a special topic. So I got pregnant, and it was a surprise, but the best surprise ever. The most beautiful gift, because Paul and I, we're sort of like we're intuitive, but we also think a lot, and like, okay, let's just get settled first. Let's build a house, and Eleni just came. It's like, yay, great, thank you, because we're just thinking too much. So that was great. And the interesting thing with my pregnancy is that my tests were not showing that I was pregnant until later on. So every month I would test myself, like, one line. Okay, that's strange.
Were you going your period?
No.
Oh, wow. And they just were saying
but exactly. And I just couldn't but what was happening as well at the time, I was training. So Paul and I, with this lifestyle, we became athletes eventually. And because that's you just start to have so much energy and living in the tropics and eating tropical fruit. And we were just, Paul and I, without kids at the time. So we had time also to invest into training. And we were training and doing endurance races and cycling and running and all those things. And we'd run a marathon. And after that, I got pregnant, which I think really emphasizes that sport does optimize your body. And it's a really good thing to do sport before getting pregnant. So I got pregnant after running a marathon, and I was training for a triathlon. And because the training is quite intense and you're doing running and swimming and cycling all the time and some things in between. And I thought that, okay, well, maybe it's because of my training routine. So I actually did a triathlon when I was already pregnant a few weeks. And I was totally shattered at the time. And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, well, and then I've completed this triathlon and started training for the next distance. And that's even more intense training. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that's. But anyway, I didn't know that I was pregnant, and it was a crazy ride for the first few months, because all of a sudden I've got changes in my appetite. I was just literally having no cravings, no issues, no food aversion, and all of a sudden I can't eat greens, and I don't want to eat bananas, and I want to sleep more, and just all these things. Like, I don't understand what's happening. And I'm training more, and I'm starting to just gain tiny bits of weight. Anyway,
Yeah.
eventually it got confirmed, and so that's when I understood that, all right, I'm just I'm not going
I'm
through this,
crazy.
I'm not a mad person. It's just that really just there's a baby there,
Yeah.
creating all these changes. But nonetheless, apart from during my first trimester, apart from just feeling a bit more tired and more detached, you just need more rest, and maybe just going off bananas, and I could just not really knowing how to feed myself anymore, because you just go off certain foods, you just don't want to eat certain things, and you don't know what you want to eat, and that was a bit of a challenge. But other than that, there's literally, I didn't have morning sickness. I continued training, and
Wow.
it was smooth, apart from just feeling like you need more rest, and you sort of like, you don't feel like participating as much in this world. You're more in your own world, in your own space. And then when it all got confirmed, I understood it. And I had a glow in pregnancy. It was just so beautiful, super active, totally feeling good, right to the end. So from the start to the end, no issues, and just beautiful, beautiful pregnancy. And I really glowed, and I really felt that I just felt so connected to our daughter, whose name is Eleni. She's turning 10 soon. So that was a while ago. And just beautiful, very connected, very, very just glowing and thriving, and beautiful, beautiful pregnancy. The way it should be, I think. Light
Yeah.
and just
Yes.
easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I had a, high raw pregnancy with Francis, and had no issues at all, no issues. And, I prepared for that for like 2 years.
Yes.
I was 2.5 years prior, was on that lifestyle. So, and so you were like 4 years, would you say 4 years
Yes.
prior? So you
Oh,
went through
yes.
your detoxification. You went through the end where you're actually thriving, and not like, not thriving on the diet, right? Because there's like that moment of time with detox. So you went through to the end of the tunnel, having the elation, you're becoming an athlete, and then you're able to get pregnant. So you had that different type of pregnancy that you would say probably helped you in that process to not have the inflammation in your feet. Did you have a lot of weight gain too, or was it pretty much?
No, just normal. I think like 10 kilos or something. No, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that we gave birth to Eleni in Australia, and I had a midwife, and she'd measure my belly, and she'd say, "Oh, you're not going to have a big baby." I was like, well, I think like everything just seemed normal. And Eleni was born just totally normal, 7.5 pounds, just like a regular baby
Yeah.
weight. Yeah, so totally, totally normal. And my birth was challenging. It was challenged by the outside events that we couldn't control. So we were in Australia, and we wanted to have a home birth, and everything was arranged. And the worst category cyclone came along. And what started to happen was that we started to get flooded. We had no electricity, no water, trees were falling down. And my midwife calls me to say that she's flooded. But she prepared us. She said, okay, if I can't get to you, she explained to Paul what to do. She left all the equipment. So you might have to sort of do it. If you had to do it if I couldn't get to you in time, this is what you would do. So we were almost ready to do it on our own, but I just couldn't. We were literally getting flooded. So it wasn't safe for me to do that. And we had no water whatsoever, no electricity. Our phones were running, just not a good environment. So I had to we called the ambulance. They came. It was a special truck, like a big truck that was going over the trees that fell down. And they took us to the birthing center. So it was still my second option to give birth at the natural birthing center. And I got there, and they prepared a bath for me and candles. And it was just like, oh, and I was surrounded by women, and actually appreciated that during my birth. That's I was surrounded by women, and just all that care was just so lovely. And interesting thing is that due to stress, I got there, and they measured my temperatures. Like, oh gosh, your temperature's 37. Like, it's just 0.8 or something. It's just over what it should be. So we might need to give you the antibiotics. And I go, okay, just leave me to it. Give me water. Come back in an hour, and I'll be fine. And that's just the power of our minds. I drank water. I just focused on my temperature going down, so everything's good. It was just due to stress and cold. I got cold and just And
you're in a flood and a cyclone. I can only
yeah,
imagine.
it's
Right?
dramatic. It's sort of like survival. You're in a survival state, right?
Yeah.
And they come back, they measure my temperature fine. It's like, there you go. The
Perfect.
power of your mind. So yes, and you know what's interesting, that's going to be very beneficial for women who are going to be given birth, to eat carbohydrates during your labor, because at one stage I really felt like I couldn't do it. I had no energy at all, no strength, and I was doubting myself. And I almost like I just felt so disempowered in that moment. But then I remembered that breakdown happens before you have breakthrough. And it's like, okay, I just need to pull myself together. And I asked Paul to bring me bananas and dates. And he brought that to me and I ate it. And all of a sudden, all that power and all that strength. And I just started pushing and pushing. And it's just like, whew, I was flooded with new energy and there's just power. And that's actually, there's scientific evidence that eating dates during labor can help you give
And it
birth.
opens your cervix. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it really helped. And Eleni was born naturally. So that was lovely and painful. It was painful. I didn't have an orgasmic birth, and I thought that I would, and I watched all these movies, and I sort of like, because I had such an easy pregnancy in Raw, I was expecting that I would have a really quick and easy birth, but it wasn't quick. It was just normal labor. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was easy. It was hard in terms of the pain. And it was painful, yeah. And I won't deny it. And I think it's good for women to be prepared for it. And like, you can you might have an orgasmic birth, and that's great. It's a very tiny percentage, especially if it's the first birth. You might. Maybe I didn't do something right. But then again, you might not. And so it was intense, and she was here, and it was beautiful. And our life started together. We welcomed her into this world, and my milk came right away, and breastfeeding's been just beautiful. I'm so grateful. I'm just grateful beyond measure for a beautiful breastfeeding journey I've had. I had no issues at all. I've always had lots of milk. And Ellen is always she lived on my breast for many years, like just literally breastfeeding all the time. But I always had milk, and I always was able to meet her demands. And breastfed her for many years, many years, as much as she wanted, until she just started to forget about it.
Yes, until they were ready.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing about your pregnancy and your birth journey. I know it's for all the women. I have a lot of women that are wanting to get pregnant, and to hear this, like the journey is not just the physical, it's the emotional and mental. And also, we're faced with, like you said, like you had a cyclone come in, you had, flooding happening, and also like it's like your daughter brought in this cyclone. Like imagine like the powerful energy that these children come in, and they and remembering that they have their path too. It's like we're that vessel for them to be born, right? But sometimes they're like, well, I need to be born at the birthing center with all the women, and it's going to take some time, and that's how she wanted to come through,
Yes.
and reminding women that it's not always like what we're doing wrong. It's like you're doing everything right, and sometimes it's for the child too, and just the circumstances at hand. It sounds like your pregnancy and birth was amazing. I mean, to be able to have a natural birth and to be able to eat bananas and dates. I mean, I hear so many women, I've seen women who aren't even allowed food in the hospital when they're giving birth. They don't give them any food. They're like, oh, just order the cheeseburger off the menu here. You know what I
That's
mean?
not good. Yeah,
So
that's
you
not
guys can
good.
eat.
But
You guys
women need to
can
know that they can create birth contracts, and they can tell the hospital what they want as well. So it's not just what they tell you; it's how you want it as well. So there is power to be claimed there, and they need to be verbal about it. It can be their experience as well.
Yeah. Awesome. And how is your guys' lifestyle? Like, has it continued? Have you were you able to eat a bunch of fruit? You didn't have to change anything like in that course, right? When you were pregnancy, or when you were or when you're breastfeeding, to like add more milk. Like the fruit was substantial enough, would you say?
Yeah. So as soon as I got pregnant, I would say I started craving potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower. Like I wasn't craving burgers or anything. Yeah. So that's what my cravings. And to start with, I couldn't understand them because I didn't know that it was pregnancy. And then probably about halfway into my pregnancy, about 3 times a week I would eat something like that, and it actually helped me, and I felt good and strong, and it was great, and it really just gave me, I didn't always want to eat sweet carbohydrates, and that was the sort of the only change that I introduced.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I want to go a little bit more into the spiritual aspect and more about, like, you work with, I mean, Yuli's been working with hundreds, I would say thousands of clients now, and people watch their YouTube videos. And so, would you say when you work with people, you know, on the lifestyle diet aspect, do you see an actual shift in change in them emotionally and spiritually from when you start working with them throughout, and then when you're done working with them?
Big, very big, massive. Yes. People really wake up. I would say people wake up to life. And there are so many reasons for that. One of the reasons is the physical changes. You literally start to have more energy. And when you start to have more energy, you have more mental energy, more emotional energy, more spiritual energy. You start to see things in a different light. And you're no longer numbed down by the foods that's are just so unhealthy. So that's big. And of course, then they start to sleep like a child, and they start to feel they want to exercise. They start to feel joyous as a result of that, as a result of being more active and being more, maybe more outdoors and doing things. And as just emotionally start to feel more joyous. And spiritually, you start to, spiritual is an interesting thing. It means so many things to so many different people, right? There isn't one definition of that. Yes. But somehow it's to do with connecting with yourself and understanding what you want in life, and understanding and embodying good values. So yes, embodying beautiful values that you can have as a human being. So spiritual, it just depends where people are at. Because it could also be all of a sudden you're faced with the fact that, wow, I'm in the wrong job. I'm doing not necessarily the wrong job, or not what I want to do. Yes. And all of a sudden you just face that, wow, my relationship needs transformation. This side of me needs transformation. I need to keep on losing weight or balancing my health issues. My life's been a mess for so, and people can be faced with that understanding. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to get overwhelmed by it, or you're going to just breathe through it and understand, okay, I understand. It's a feedback. I can build a new life here. So it's a beautiful thing that I can go through, beautiful transformation. It doesn't mean that everything has to change all at once, because changes in the physical, on our physical earth, take time. But it's just that joy. You can see it from the aspect of joy. That's yes, you can, and you can live your life the way you want to. For instance, we've been, as well as teaching health, which mostly is done by my husband, I teach people how to build their business online. So for coaches and for life coaches, relationship coaches, health, fitness coaches, so they can help others and they can feel their passion and they can travel and they can live anywhere. So there are opportunities then, as well as there's never a challenge without an opportunity. Every single time there's a challenge and there is an opportunity. So you need to start viewing things in a different way. And totally, people change and people, a lot of them also want to start influencing their communities, and we love that so much. I remember we worked with a nurse, and she needed to lose 100 pounds. So her goal was literally to get into an airplane seat. She was type 2 diabetic. Wow. She wanted to go on holiday with her kids, but she couldn't get into an airplane seat. So she lost 30 pounds in 90 days, and excuse me, she was able to do all these things, and she was no longer type 2 diabetic, and her life has changed. But what started to happen was that she started to make smoothies at work, and her skin started to glow, and she started to lose weight, and people around her like, what are you doing? She said, well, let me show you. This is what I'm doing. This is my lunch, and this is how I'm doing it. And she was like loving inspiring people around her. She would get on coaching calls and she would say, it's just like the best thing. And they go home and they're like, wow, it's just so interesting. There's another thing that I can do in my life to to be healthier. So that's that's what's amazing, is that not only people change themselves, but then they start inspiring others around them, and people start to notice. Just, it's natural. You can't. You see that glow, you see that joy in people's lives, you see that beautiful body that they start creating, and that they feel good and more positive. And of course, people want to know what they're doing. So yes, it's not just an individual change, but it's also collective change that people can go through. And another client of ours, she had 8 kids. So, for women who are like, well, I don't know if I can do it, I'm so busy with kids. Well, here's a story of a client with 8 kids. And she started to eat a lot of fruit. So she, on this diet, right? So she would bring a lot of fruit to her home. And she said, all my kids started eating fruit and I wouldn't have any fruit left. So she started to buy more fruit. So as well as her eating fruit, the kids started to eat fruit. So that's just it, it's beautiful the way it changes you and your family and the world around you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a domino effect. They see it, you become the light, and then you light them up, and they're like, what's happening? I mean, I know sometimes in the beginning, though, they're like, they might question you, like, what are you doing? Eating fruits, And like, that's all you eat? And then after a while, you're like, oh, they're actually like, I can see it now. So it can be a little skepticism in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that they want to achieve too, which is so beautiful. And I hope that, by talking to people like you, like this can spread even more, and more people can see the effects of what's happening, not just on the physical, but the emotional and the spiritual, and how it can wake up. Like you said, it can wake you up to life again. And I wanted to ask you one more thing. Actually, a couple more things. One I want to go into, because for the people that aren't pregnant, the people that have their periods and stuff, and then going into a little bit of menopause and those kinds of symptoms, can you share with me a little bit what you've seen either through yourself or with clients, how the actual menstruation cycle has shifted for them?
Yes. So that's a very important period to support yourself through, definitely, because as well as many hormonal changes that you go through, your body is rewiring to a new stage of life, and that brings about emotional changes and mental changes, and it's important for women to nurture themselves. And if anything, it's an opportunity for them to really do that. And yes, they spent that life before that period being busy and doing a lot of things and raising kids, and that's fair enough. But at the same time, I think it's that calling to really pay attention to yourself even more and to nurture yourself. And there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of things that they will need to support. They will need to support the health of their liver, because a lot of hormones get converted there. For example, thyroid hormones inactive T4, T3. Thyroid hormone literally powers every cell in your body. So that gets converted in the liver for the large percentage. And then certain hormones get deactivated in the gut, and you need to flush them out. Estrogen, excess estrogen. So if your gut is not functioning properly, then you will be faced with excess estrogen and other hormonal challenges. So it's very important to start preparing now. So don't get to the stage where you are going through menopause and you're faced with hot flashes and nightmares, and that most women go through. Start preparing yourself now for that. So you are able to optimize your body, just very much like pregnancy. Start preparing now if you want to get pregnant, because you need to optimize your body to face that stage in life. Start preparing yourself now to go through perimenopause and menopause, because your body will be changing and your hormones will be changing, and how you'll go through that stage will be due to how you nurture yourself. So yes, there are a lot of things, and of course the diet, the nutrition, and also making sure that you're not deficient in certain areas. Vitamin D, a lot of people live in a cold climate. There's no way for them to get enough vitamin D. You just cannot get enough vitamin D in England in the winter, not even in the winter. It's interesting. When the summer came, so we spent a year in England, and gosh, we struggled. I can tell you. I was like, we were really looking forward to. We struggled. even in the summer, the summer came along and I thought, okay, so just not going to supplement and spend more time in the sun. No, it didn't work for me. It just still didn't give me enough sun to have good vitamin D levels. So, just making sure that you're not low in certain nutrients, that you're optimizing it and you're eating the right foods. And you do need to make sure that you consume sufficient carbohydrates, and also you have sufficient levels of omega-3, but not too much of omega-6, so you're not creating inflammation in your body. So balancing all those nutrients. And even then, I mean, I don't know, I haven't gone through it myself, so I cannot talk from my experience. I can only talk from the experience of our clients. But even then, of course, you'll still be going through challenges. But for as long as your body is supporting you through that, for instance, one of our clients, Tina, she came to us. She had hot flashes. She wasn't sleeping well. She also had candida. She was crying on the phone. She was so tired of just doing a lot of things for her candida, not getting any results, and overweight and so forth. And we put her on a low-fat, high-carbohydrate lifestyle plan. Her candida symptoms, again, just in a matter of days, she just couldn't believe the change, the transformation. And to this day, she said, if anyone wants to talk to me, give them my phone. I will tell them about this lifestyle. I will tell them about how amazing it is. And her hot flashes stopped and she was able to sleep well. And then she started with work. She started to go out more and she started to sort of like move away a little bit away from this food, eating more fat. Her hot flashes came back. It just shows that literally all she did was change her nutrition. Hot flashes were back. Goes back to this lifestyle. No more hot flashes. So that's the power of nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've seen that as well, not just with menopause, but like females who go on this when they're just getting their period in general, and they're like, my period was so much heavier when I didn't have a high carbohydrate diet and they had more fat, or like they would have cramps, they would have like maybe 3 to 5 days, but then when they switch over, they get to have maybe 2 to 3 days and it's light and they don't have cramps. It's just like a breeze for them. They're like, oh, this is a different type of period now. And the color I've seen, have you noticed the difference of the color of the actual blood? Because the blood is clean now in the period has changed too. And I've seen that as well. Have you noticed that as well with your clients? I don't know if they talk about that. We're kind of going there right now, but it's good because females get to understand a little bit what it can change in your life, and like the actual health of your body. So
yes, it changes. And I would say there are also levels. So people who have certain conditions like autoimmune, Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, they're more difficult somewhat. We see our clients improve them and change them, but there are more things that some of them need to do than just the diet itself. There's a lot of gut optimization and working with bugs like parasites, fungi, bacterial dysbiosis, and so forth, and rebuilding that. So that sometimes takes more than just the diet itself. But at the same time, a diet by itself will create incredible changes.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I would love to hear anything else that you want to share with the community about yourself, about any inspiration that you want to give them before we jump off here.
Yeah, so your life changes a lot when you have kids, and it gets much busier, and of course you don't have as much time to do things. And I think it's just even more important to understand that when you go through busy stages of life, it's even more important for you to nurture yourself. And our kids really need us, not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally. And when you change your lifestyle and change your diet, you get to connect to such beautiful level of depth within yourself. And especially if you couple that with ongoing personal development and growth, where you learn more about emotional growth and kids and how you can support them and how you can support yourself through endless challenges that you go through as a female as well, and changes, then that can really empower you on your journey. And you'll never get there. Let me tell you that. There is like, it's not about getting to a specific place like, oh yeah, good, I've learned everything, I know everything, I can like, there's always going to be new challenges, but the key is to just the way you change, and nutrition will change you, and it will definitely make you a lot more resilient in this world, and it will it will allow you to stand up for what you feel is right, and that can really create a different world around you. And I know, Sarah, you talked about families and how, to start with, they might see it as a threat or it's change, and there is a way to handle it. You don't need to argue about it. And we also went through that ourselves with our families, and we were told all kinds of things. But we've been on this lifestyle plan for since 2009, so what, 15 years, and everyone accepts it now. So it's just been so long, and we've just been doing it again and again and again, and everyone accepts it, embraces it. When we have parties, they have a special table for us if they prepare food with the food that we can eat. So they respect it, and it's just wonderful that things will change. So you won't always have arguments with your family, and there won't always be sort of a big level of resistance. But the world has changed as well. 14 years ago, when I remember we went on a skiing holiday. No, 50. We were vegetarians before we became vegans, and more vegans. And we couldn't even find a vegetarian option anywhere. We went on a skiing holiday to Austria. There wasn't. Like, we would go to a restaurant and we would say, "Can you make this without that, without meat?" And they would say, "Oh gosh, that's so difficult." And it's like, "No, just potatoes and salad. That's not difficult." But they couldn't do it. And now you just have so many options. The world is a lot more acceptant of it. It's more of it's more like of a mainstream almost thing. It's vegan and smoothies and cafes and all these things. It's so much easier. Know that if you do it now, there is so much more support around you. When we did it, when we switched, it was a lot more challenging, and you were almost just the only one around living this way. But it's no longer this way. So it's much simpler now, much simpler.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Definitely. I mean, even 7 years ago when we started, I was like, what's going on? Where's all the stuff? And it's gotten so much more now. It's so much busier. I mean, you can go to Los Angeles, you can go to any like main city, and you'll always find, a vegan restaurant, a raw food smoothies. Like you said, you can always find it. Whole Foods is like, oh, you'll always get your smoothies and always be able to get some fruit there for sure. And I want to ask you one more thing, just because one of the main things that I've been teaching for many years, almost 10 years now, is self-love and loving thyself. And can you share with me how this has changed the love that you have for yourself by being on this lifestyle and starting this journey?
Well, that's a beautiful question. And yeah, self-love, it really is. It all starts from there. And then you can spread into other areas. How has it changed? Well, it's changed in the way that you treat your body in a different way. And your consciousness changes as well as a result of it. So when you start to, despite, let's say, all the obstacles and challenges, you choose to eat healthy, and you dedicate yourself to a certain path, every single day you show up for yourself and you show self-love towards yourself. And then you get to a stage where you love yourself that much that you just cannot do anything else. It really is. To start with, you faced with opposition and resistance, and you're building new habits, and it might seem more challenging, but trust me, it doesn't stay that way forever. It becomes so natural. You don't even need to think about it that much anymore. That's just how you live. That's just who you are. And loving yourself is a natural thing to do. And nurturing yourself in terms of mindfulness practices and nutrition and the way you talk to yourself and addressing your emotions and so forth, that just becomes a natural part of your life. And it's so beautiful to live in this connected state, because you can make different choices. You feel your body in a different way. You get to connect with your intuition. You get to see what's right, what's not right in this life, and what's right for you. You get to understand, and you get to make choices that really serve your highest and greatest good. And if we sort of go even beyond that, and we think about that we are here to evolve to our highest and greatest potential, then this is a beautiful path to be on. And a lot of our clients have said that their connection with God, and I know, there's just so many definitions, whether it's God or the universe or the high or the spirit, or however you want to define it. It really changes. It changes,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes so much more inwards versus outwards. So you're not having to see cancers on the outside. You just feel it within you. And yeah, it's difficult to describe it to anyone else, who are not on this diet and lifestyle, and they are not able to connect to these states. It's very different. I mean, try to meditate when you have a headache, or when you feel bloated,
Yeah.
or when you feel swollen, or when your body's inflamed. And try to meditate when you feel light and glowing and airy and just like, whoo, I just feel easy. And try to meditate. Like you'll be able to access two different states of
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. So, and then as a result of that, self-love. Yeah, so self-love is so important. It's really at the core of everything. And I'm glad, Sarah, that you're teaching it, and that's
Mm,
really
thank you.
is what can change everything.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing. That was so beautifully said, so eloquent and perfect. I really, really appreciate you sharing not only, the start of your journey, but your journey and what you've gone through, and for just being here to support other people and share your light, but then spread that light to others. So thank you so much for being here with us and joining us. And I can't wait for everyone to listen and watch you and continue. Can you tell everyone how to find you? What is the best place that they can find you? Is it on Instagram, Facebook, website? What do you think is the go-to?
Sure. So our website is rawsomehealthy.com. And our YouTube channel is Rawsomehealthy. We've been around for a long time. We've got over 700 videos there, over 11 million views. So YouTube is a good place to connect with us. And then it will have all the social media, handles on there as well to follow. So rawsomehealthy.com or YouTube Rawsomehealthy.
Yay. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and